Hello and welcome back to Supposedly Fun. My name is Greg. I am here today to do two things in one video. I'm going to do a book haul for the month of May and my May wrap-up. Now, why am I going to combine my book haul with my wrap-up? Well, I only have one book in my book haul. It finally hit. I just, haven't had a whole money to spend on a lot of books. I have a foster kid who's going to be graduating from high school next month. We have the COVID thing is still going on, so there are other things. But I do have one book to talk about. And I thought it would make sense to wrap up the book haul with my actual wrap up for the month of May, because although I will be finishing another book in the month of May, there's still a couple of days left in the month. I won't be able to talk about it until June anyway, because it's for the Booktube Prize. And I am just starting a new audiobook that will probably carry over as well. So it feels pretty safe to assume that this is where the month is going to net out, which is pretty good because I'm looking at my Goodreads right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 books that I have already finished in the month of May, and I will have one more to add by the end of the month. And so that's 9 books. That's pretty good. I had a lot of books ongoing when the month started, so I guess it makes sense that I finished a lot in this month. So let's start with the book haul part and get that part kind of knocked out. The book that I got is from Book of the Month Club. That's why there was any book to add to my library in the month of May. I got The Knockout Queen by Rufi Thorpe. It sounded interesting to me. Let's do the inside flap description. It's a dazzling and darkly comic novel of love, violence, and friendship in the California suburbs. Bunny Lampert is the princess of North Shore, beautiful, tall, blonde, and with a real estate developer father and a swimming pool in her backyard. Michael, who has a ponytail down his back and a septum piercing, lives with his aunt in the cramped stucco cottage next door. When Michael is caught smoking in Bunny's side yard, he discovers her life is not as perfect as it seems. At 6'3", Bunny towers over their classmates. Even as she dreams of standing out and competing in the Olympics, she is desperate to fit in, to seem normal, and to get a boyfriend, all while hiding her father's escalating alcoholism. Michael has secrets of his own. At home and at school, Michael pretends to be straight, but at night he tries to understand himself by meeting men online for anonymous encounters that both thrill and scare him. When Michael falls in love for the first time, a vicious strain of gossip circulates, and a brutal act becomes the defining feature of both his and Bunny's futures, and of their friendship. With storytelling as intoxicating as it is intelligent, Rufi Thorpe has created a tragic and unflinching portrait of identity, a fascinating examination of our struggles to exist in our bodies, and an excruciatingly beautiful story of two humans aching for connection. That's kind of what lured me into the book. Of course, we're heading into June, which is Pride Month. You can expect I will be doing my Pride stash again. So this kind of stood out for that in particular and for its LGBTQ angle. And it kind of seems like the description of it on the Book of the Month's website seemed that it kind of crosses over between adult fiction and young adult fiction. And I don't do a lot of young adult fiction, so I thought this would be a crossover would be a good way to broach into that territory a little bit more for my Read Outside Your Comfort Zone challenge. Now, I always do the first sentence of the book for my book hauls. So, by the way, the quotes at the beginning of this book are from RuPaul and Hannah Arendt. So, there you go. First sentence of the book. When I was 11 years old, I moved in with my aunt after my mother was sent to prison. And there you go. That's my book haul right there in 4 minutes. But I did also get a tote along with that, because when you get 12 shipments from Book of the Month, you become what they call a Book of the Month BFF. And I became a Book of the Month BFF. And the prize for that is a tote that has a book pocket. And look at me, I'm a BFF. And the pocket in the front of the tote handily fits. Well, it's not handily, but it does fit even a hardcover book really nicely. There's actually a magnet button that seals it closed. Obviously, it doesn't seal when there's a hardcover in there, but if you had like a mass market in there or anything else, the magnet actually keeps it closed. It is a nice tote. I'm not a big tote person, but it's lovely, and it's nice to have, and it's nice to feel fancy, as always. Just as a general rule in life, it's good to feel fancy. So that's the book haul. Let's get into the wrap-up. Now, I'm going to start with the books for the Booktube Prize that I can't really talk about until next month. The book that I'm going to finish by the end of the month is A Woman of No Importance, The Untold Story of the American Spy Who Helped Win World War II by Sonia Purnell. I started this one yesterday, need to finish it so I can get my rankings in on the 30th, and I am on track to have that done. It will be the last book for this round of the Booktube Prize for me. I'm doing nonfiction, obviously, because this is not a novel, and looking forward to finishing that one. Again, can't talk about it. Same goes with Trick Mirror. I finished this one already, and I think I know where it's going to stand in my rankings, but I can't tell you. So you'll have to wait until June to find out what I thought of both of these. I also listened to some on audio. There was The Heartbeat of Wounded Knee by David Treuer, She Said by Megan Kantor and Jodi Twohey, and Sea People, The Puzzle of Polynesia, the author of which is escaping me. So hang on, let me have a look. It is Christina Thompson. So those are the books for the Booktube Prize that you will be hearing much more about in the month of early June, when I can finally talk about them. Let's get to the rest of what I read. The big news, the headline, is that I finally finished Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I had started this in March. I think I started it on March 5th, and I finished it just this past weekend. And so it was a long haul. I was supposed to pick it up for March of the Mammoths. It's over 800 pages, so it qualifies for that. March of the Mammoth is, of course, when you read a book that's over 800 pages, or a mammoth of a book, in the month of March. But it carried over because this also started as a buddy read with Rick McDonald from another kick at the Canlit. I can't talk, but basically when everything started hitting with COVID, and jobs started getting dicey and quarantine started happening, our buddy read kind of fell away over time. He has not finished the book yet, and I think he is still planning to. But I finished it, and I am really glad that I did. I enjoyed it very much. Spoiler alert. I have already started writing my review, because this is the first book that I have finished for my Pulitzer Prize project a year later, and I'm really excited to do that. However, my review turned into an essay, so I am finishing that up, and then I'm going to figure out what elements I want to pick out to talk about in a video, because I don't want to. If I record the whole thing, it'll be over 30 minutes long, and I don't want to do that to people. So we'll see how that nets out in the end. But I will be talking more about Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Spoiler alert, I really liked it. I thought it was a very good book, and I'm very pleased that I read it, and that I finally have my Pulitzer Prize project going. There are many books that I have already read that won Pulitzer Prizes, I think somewhere around 2025, but I don't have the number in front of me, and I'm not going to look right now. But it's something in that neighborhood, so now I've added another one. Then I read Cloudstreet. This was a buddy read with Sarah from Hardcover Hearts, and neither one of us liked it. We actually bailed when there were only 100 pages left. I had been thinking that I would look online to see what the ending is, but there isn't really anything online that I could find that would give away the ending. So I may, at some point, just skim through them. I did skim through them, but I may give myself a closer look just to see, because I feel weird. Even as much as I was disliking the book, I feel weird bailing with only 100 pages left. I don't think anything was going to happen in those last 100 pages that was going to change my opinion of this book, however. So we'll see about that. But I have a full video where I talk about why we bailed on it, which I will link down below. And if you want more about Cloudstreet, you could just really go to that. But I honestly, if I don't do the last 100 pages, which I probably won't, I don't feel like I'm going to be missing out. I know a lot of people were horrified that I bailed with only 100 pages left, but I don't feel like I'm missing anything. Sorry. So that's just the way it is. I also finished Volume 2 of My Brother's Husband by Gengoroh Tagame. This is a manga book. I wanted to read a manga for my Read Outside Your Comfort Zone challenge. I had never read one before, so I picked My Brother's Husband because it very much lines up with things that I am generally interested in my reading. So it kind of seemed like a good access point to manga. I'm going to try to figure out a way to read a more traditional manga, maybe something in a series. I got a lot of recommendations, and it's kind of overwhelming. I don't even know where to go. But I really enjoyed both Volume 1 and Volume 2 of this. It's so good. It's the story of a man who lives in Japan with his daughter. He had a brother who died, a twin brother who had died, who lived in Canada and whom he was estranged from. That brother's husband shows up at his door, and because of cultural traditions and mores, he's kind of forced into inviting him to stay with them. And having his brother's husband around forces him to confront why he and his brother became estranged and the sort of latent homophobia that he went along with, even if he didn't necessarily feel it in his own heart. And it kind of forces him to interrogate Japan's larger approach to homosexuality. It's a very interesting book. I really, really enjoyed it a lot and would recommend it. So it was a good experience with a manga. By the way, Westerns is a genre that I don't really read much. I've already read True Grit this year. Lonesome Dove was a sort of follow-up to that, and I really liked both of them. I do think if there's time this year, I would like to pick up more of a commercial Western and see how that goes. Because I kind of pick, similar to my brother's husband, I picked ones that would deliberately match my interests, but I feel like I should really get out of my comfort zone and see what the more mainstream ones would be. Not that Lonesome Dove and True Grit are not mainstream, but yeah, hopefully you know what I'm saying. And then the last book, The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. This was a buddy read with Britta Bowler, and we both did not like it. I have a full video where I talk about it, and I will link that down below. Needless to say, if you don't want to watch the whole video, it just didn't feel like anything came together, and that there are large parts of this book that aren't really necessary. Basically, the whole second half of this book, which is about 100 pages, could probably be eliminated, and you really wouldn't miss a whole lot. And it doesn't feel like there's a focus to this book. There's so much going on, but none of it really adds up to anything. So it felt like a debut novel that has a lot of flaws. However, it's not a debut novel. I believe it is Emily St. John Mandel's 5th novel. So it was a disappointing read for both me and Britta, but we are planning another buddy read in July. Stay tuned for that. I'm hoping it's going to go much better than this one did. So there you have it. Those are the books that I read in the month of May. The one book that I brought into my library in the month of May, and a book tote as a bonus. And I would love to hear what you have brought into your library. If you have any feedback on this, I would love to hear it. If you have recommendations based on it, I would love to hear that as well. If you have read any of these and have opinions on them, I'd love to hear it. Again, I can't talk about A Woman of No Importance or Trick Mirror until June. Stay tuned for that. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I would love to hear what you read in the month of May and what you're looking forward to in June. I'm planning my next few videos. I am obviously going to be talking about Lonesome Dove in greater detail. I am planning a TBR for the month of June. I have one buddy read scheduled. I'm keeping it at one, and I have a buddy read with Sean, the book maniac, that is going to carry over into June. Both of which tie into the Pride Month, which I want to try to focus on LGBTQ books. So the book I'm reading with Sean is My Father and Myself by J.R. Ackerley, who was a gay man. And it's a memoir about his relationship with his father. And the other buddy read is Girl, Woman, Other. Finally going to get around to reading it, which, from everything I've heard, has a queer element to it. So those are definitely on the docket for June, but I'll be doing a full TBR, even though I suck at TBRs, about the books that I would like to get to in the month of June. And we'll see how that goes. So, again, I'd love to hear what you've been reading, what you've been up to. Hope you're doing well. Hope quarantine life is treating you well. I know a lot of people are getting out of the house. I'm still very comfortably staying in my house or isolating for the most part. We did go on a hike this past weekend, and there were a lot of people on the trail, but everybody was very respectful about distance, so that felt good. And anyway, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for your time watching this video. As always, it is super, super appreciated, and especially if you enjoyed this enough to subscribe and follow along. And I will be back. Until next time, happy reading.